What's up guys, Asian here again with another theory crafting video, and today we're going to be revisiting the axe versus the dagger for a non-Khajiit stamina DPS build. So if you guys remember from the video, I think it's about a week and a half ago, where we explored the axe versus dagger for a non-Khajiit stamina DPS, we came to the conclusion that the axe and the dagger pretty much are neck and neck, and that doesn't really matter which one that we end up choosing. I've done some more tests, I've done a couple more parses, and so now I feel more comfortable making a statement on which weapon choice is going to be better for you, whether it's the axe or the dagger. So in this video I'm just going to be doing two more parses, one with the axe, one with the dagger, just so we can get an additional data point. So you guys can also get to see the rotation and things like that. And then I'll show you guys the spreadsheet, and we will go over the percentage difference between the axe and the dagger parses, and we'll be able to draw our conclusions from it there. So just like last time, we're going to be doing this on our stamDK. We are a non-Khajiit. The only thing we're going to be changing is this axe here. We're going to be swapping this axe out for a dagger. Same exact trait, same exact enchant, the only difference is that it is a dagger instead of an axe, so we're getting that 5% extra crit chance. We're still going to be using Sunderflame and VO with a Nirnhone Maelstrom bow with a double Ravage health enchant, Velodreth, one heavy with health, and one medium with stam. Like I said, we're going to be doing two parses here. First one is going to be with the axe, and the second one is going to be with the dagger, and then we will compare those two parses specifically, and then we will also compare the averages of all the parses that I've done over the past couple of days. So without further ado, let's get started with these parses. Alright, so that is the axe parse. We're going to wait till the end to compare parses. So we're just going to swap out the dagger or axe for a dagger, and do the exact same parse all over again. We will wait for our stamina to get back up, so it's a fair parse. And then we'll try to mimic the rotation as best as we can. Just waiting, and we're waiting. Alright, that should be good enough. Alright, so that is the double dagger parse. We're going to go ahead and look at comment metrics. So our double dagger parse, we pulled 36 point, rounded down 36.7k, and our axe parse we pulled 37.8k. This axe parse is actually on the high end of things. I actually have not managed to pull quite this high with either an axe or a dagger before, so this could just be due to luck of the draw. That's kind of why I did a couple of parses over the past couple of days, just so I can get a running average of what you can realistically pull. So the more data points you have, the closer you'll be able to get to an average, so you'll be able to account for things like poor rotations, a particularly good rotation, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of what we're looking at. So if we were just to base our findings on just these two parses, for example, we'd find that the axe beats out the dagger by a relatively significant margin. However, like I said earlier, we did a couple of parses over the past couple of days. You can see them here on the spreadsheet, and I'm just going to go ahead and add in the last couple of parses that we just did. Let me just double check, make sure. 7.5. It's not really going to matter too much if I change this, but best to be accurate. Alright, so this is the axe and dagger parse. We have 6 parses here, 1 through 6 right here, 1 for the axe, 1 for the dagger. Sunder and VO on a stamDK, so that's kind of the qualifier here. This doesn't necessarily apply to a Templar, or a Nightblade, or a Warden, or any other class, or any other combination of gear. Now, I don't see why this finding wouldn't vary based on gear, but based on class I can see how these findings vary, just because Nightblades and Templars do have additional crit damage modifiers built into their class passives. So we need to take that into account. So this is only for those stamina DPS that do not have an additional 10% crit damage modifier built into their passives. That's stamDKs, stamsorks, and stamina wardens. And of course, I don't believe that changing gear out is really going to alter these numbers, or at least the percentage difference between these numbers. Obviously, if you're running Night Mother's Gaze instead of Sunderflame, you might see a little bit lower numbers because you're not getting the same level of penetration. If you're using Twice Fanged Snake instead of Sunderflame, you'll get a little bit higher because you're getting a little bit more penetration. But the percentage difference between the axe and dagger parses shouldn't vary too much. So you can see here that the difference is still less than 100 DPS between the two. If we go ahead and calculate out the percent difference here. Oops. We'll find that it is about 0.23 of a percentage point. That is below the 1% cutoff that I use for significant difference, well below the cutoff of 2% that I use. That means, you can't really explain this discrepancy through random chance. So this is a finding that still supports our original finding, which is that between the axe and the dagger, there really isn't that big of a difference. Anything, like I said earlier, that's below 1 or 2% difference in DPS indicates to me that there is really no difference there, that you can chalk up any difference really to random chance. So 0.23% difference is pretty small. You can pretty much chalk any difference you see up to variations based on your rotation. The one thing to do keep in mind though is that the axe parse is kind of weighted a little bit heavier just because of this really good parse that we had earlier. If I take this parse out, then we see, and I guess if we take this parse out as well, we'll see that it actually drops down so that it's the difference between axe and dagger increases. It's now 0.85%, which is a larger difference, but it's still below that 1% threshold that I use to indicate significant difference between two categories here. So these findings do support our initial findings from the first video that I posted, that axes and daggers, doesn't really matter which one you pick, at least for a non-Khajiit class that doesn't have any additional crit modifiers. I will be doing this again with a Stamina Nightblade. That does have an additional 10% crit damage modifier, so we can see whether or not this finding holds up with those classes. And then I'm also going to be redoing this again with the Khajiit. Same deal here. We'll be doing a class with a damage modifier in their passive, so Nightblade again, and then we'll be doing it again with a stamDK. But for this video, our conclusion is, if you can choose either the axe or the dagger for a non-Khajiit stamina DPS that doesn't have any class crit damage modifiers. So that's stamDK, stamsorcs, and stamwardens. If you're a non-Khajiit, basically if you're a Redguard or a Dunmer or a Bosmer, pick your poison. Whichever weapon you prefer is the one that you can use. So that's it for this video. I hope you found it informative. I'll see you guys in the next dungeon.